Good morning, everyone. Let me get my notes up here. Here we go. All right. Well, good morning again. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 16th day of March, 2020. Well, a 7 energy for today. How cool. We get to start the week off in the observer role. That's basically what you want to do in a 7 energy day. You just want to observe and watch everything come into, just sort of watch everything come into to where you can see all of it. I want to say come into resonance, but that may be a little too obtuse for a Monday morning. But really, you want to have things come into focus for you today. You want to see the truth of what's going on. Things are not going well in this country, pandemic wise, testing wise. We for whatever reason, the administration in power doesn't seem willing to, get tests in the country. That we could have had them from the World Health Organization, but they said no. Why would they do that? You see, we need to start asking ourselves questions like that to figure out what the heck is going on, because right now, things are very uneasy in the country. The moon's in the 8th house in Sagittarius, so it's going to signal a need for adventure, but you're going to have to do it close to home, if not at home. Because many of us, especially if you're my age or older, you're hunkering down for the foreseeable future. You've gone out, you've protected yourself, you've gotten your supplies, and now you're just going to say, well, okay, it's time to just hunker down and do my thing at home. And so whatever adventure you find, I need to turn this light down here a little bit. Whatever adventure you find, it's going to have to be, you're going to have to generate it there. Sextile Mercury, ideas are going to flow, but you're going to have to, use them to figure out what you're going to do while you're in quarantine, especially if you have kids at home. That's going to be interesting to figure out how we're going to do all of this, especially with no information. And where do you get that? You get that via testing that for whatever reason, the guy in the Oval Office said no to the tests. He also fired the pandemic team back in 2018 that he now pretends he didn't do. Oh, I didn't know about that. Well, someone else did that. No, babe, you did. Jesus. I don't even know what to think anymore. But the sun's in the 12th house in Pisces, time for reflection. Figure out, unfortunately, what you see is what it is. You can't put a spin on this. It's really as bad as it looks. Especially in terms, maybe not necessarily in terms of how we get through the virus itself, because probably they say for most of us we're going to be fine but we don't know what kind of damage to our lungs it will do. We just don't know about so many different things because it's new, number one, and number two, we don't want to jump to conclusions. Just because it happens for one person doesn't mean it will happen for the vast majority, but we still need to pay attention. So, well, let's see, let's get rid of this little pop-up thing that just came up. But let me go back, because that made my other thing scroll. I wonder why it did that. Well, and in any event, Mercury 11th house Pisces, intuition is strong. Explore interactions with others, pay attention to what your intuition's telling you, but try to do whatever you do either over the phone or online or something. Again, they're recommending 6 feet of social distancing between people. And I think that makes sense, especially if someone's coughing. You're definitely going to want to cover your face with something. I've been crocheting masks because you can't get any, and so I've been doing that. And I've got a couple of masks for us, and my husband is going to wear a bandana if we have to go out. But we aren't going to be going out. We've got enough provisions probably, for a couple weeks here. So hopefully we won't have to go out at all. And by provisions, I mean we went and bought chicken food. So we have enough, frozen stuff that we'll be fine. But the chickens were the ones we were worried about, because we've got new babies and plus is it 14 or 15? 15 chickens out there, and we bought 14 babies. That's what it is. So we're and there's snow on the ground. We got snow this weekend. So it's just going to be an interesting time. So we have to hunker down whether we want to or not because of the snow. But but still, we have to figure out how we're going to do this, and we don't want to not interact with people. So if you're on Twitter, on Facebook, you got people you talk to, then do that. If you have family that you're lucky enough to have, we really don't. So we don't have anybody checking in on us. So we just check in with each other. So, but if you do, please check in on them. Check in on your parents, and make sure that they're doing okay. It's not easy right now, especially if you're our age. It's a really scary time. Especially if you're older and you have a compromised immune system, if you've got any health issues at all, this is a really frightening time. Some would say terrifying. So, if you're somewhat isolated, hopefully you've got some kind of an online presence where you can check in with people, and make sure everyone that you know is doing well too. Mars Capricorn, or excuse me, I'll say Venus 12th house Taurus. Appreciate nature in your home. Well, you're going to have to, because you might be spending a lot of time there for the foreseeable future. I'm lucky. I have 5 acres to play on, so I have gardens to get ready for as soon as the snow melts it's supposed to melt this week, so it's not going to be a permanent thing. But it's not uncommon. We're at 3,000 feet above sea level here, so it's not uncommon on the high desert to get snow in March. It really isn't. So Mars, 9th house Capricorn, explore new experiences, a new direction may open, but you're going to have to do that again with an eye towards social distancing right now. Mars conjunct Jupiter, we're going to gain some information and use that information to protect ourselves and others now. In other words, use that catalytic Mars energy to not ignore the rules regarding all of this, but to figure out a way to do them and protect not just yourself, but others as well. Have that sense of the other guy involved. You may feel fine. I said this in my Lilith post I did yesterday over on the blog. You may feel fine, but you're the person you're standing next to maybe have a compromised immune system, or maybe older like me, or even older than I am, and you want to be sensitive to that. You could be carrying it and not even realize it, and you could be infecting other people. So again, this can't be, let's all ignore this like the president told us to. Oh no, he's singing a different tune today, isn't he? Sort of. Yeah. Jupiter, 9th house Capricorn. Again, expand your horizons, but maybe enroll in a course. If you're thinking about doing online courses, Teachable is, you can go over to my blog at Stepping Aside. Teachable is offering their Reach Summit here, starting pretty soon. Information went out today or yesterday. I actually sent a newsletter about it. There's also some information on the blog there at imsteppingaside.com if you're interested in that, in creating any online courses. That's coming. You might check into that. It's free to attend. And also the mushroom course with the Herbal Academy, the signups begin tomorrow on it. If you haven't already put your name in for the mushroom course giveaway, the registration actually begins on the 17th, and I plan on signing up for that. I'm an herbalist, of course, and I use mushrooms. I do tinctures and whatnot, and so I'm really excited about it. I'm wanting to learn more about them, especially in terms of identification, so I don't choose the wrong thing if I'm out and about, mushrooming somewhere, which I don't do because I'm not confident enough about it. So this looks like a really good course, and that might be something you can do while you're waiting to see in quarantine what's going on. And that's coming up as well, so check that out on my blog. There's also links to it below here. I'll make sure the Teachable link is up too for the Reach Summit. I have held off putting that up because they kind of like you to do this right before the time. And so there's kind of a schedule when they want affiliates to do this kind of stuff. So, and because if you were to click on those and then sign up for it and do anything there, I would get a commission on that. So just know that that's part of being an affiliate marketer, and I have to say that anyway. It's sort of a law now that you have to disclose all of it. So, but any event, Jupiter conjunct Pluto, interesting aspect. We have the resolve, I wrote this down, we have the resolve to accomplish anything we like, but we need to use it in a more expansive way. When you think Jupiter, you think expansion, and so you cannot think simply about yourself. You have to be thinking about others right now. And that's just a really important thing to do, particularly in the midst of a pandemic. I love what they're doing. The people in Italy, they're coming out on their balconies and they're serenading one another. It's just the most magical thing, isn't it? Saturn, 10th house Capricorn, reassessment of career. Direction may change or end during this period. Yeah, we don't know what this is going to look like, and we don't know where we're going to be work-wise afterwards, whether we're business owners or anything else. So this is a difficult time. We need to come together. We need to have the facts. We need to have the testing. We need the federal government to stop doing whatever nefarious things that they're doing that are self-dealing, and think about the rest of us for once. Until November, when we can put someone else in there who will actually think about us all the time. Let's see, Uranus, 12th house Taurus, open to change and new experiences. You got to break free from old patterns. Well, yeah, this is going to force us to, isn't it? Again, semi-square with Neptune, guard against deception and the long played con. It's in effect. When you've got what you saw, I don't know if you saw these pictures. I did. I was on Twitter and I saw them. The airports, some of the major airports, the hours and hours to get screened, just to get through customs, just to get to your bags. The Illinois governor is asking for help and basically told him to get their you-know-what together. And the only thing that happened is he got a phone call from some person from the White House screaming at him to not be so nasty. No. See, it's like we aren't going to do our job, but you aren't going to yell at us for it either. That's what this is. So again, guard against the long played con. There's one happening, right? New directions can be taken right now. Sextile North Node, trine South Node with Uranus. And this is true. Also, I believe the same sort of thing is happening with Pluto. Let me scroll down here. Or is it Chiron? No, it's Chiron. But with Pluto in the 10th house and Capricorn changes again on the career front. But the whole idea, Chiron, 12th house Aries, also square the north and south nodes of the moon. All of this is saying that wounds need to be healed, a new perspective needs to be gained, and a new direction forward is possible. And it's one where we reject the politics of division and all of this manipulation that's going on, all of the conning that's going on, and that we come back together as one people, because that's what we are. Even though we try as much as we can to see the other, see an us versus them type of experience, that's not what we are. And it's not what it's going to take to get through the pandemic. And I'm so sorry that we have people in the White House that don't understand this, but they don't. They're incompetent and they're unfit to be there, because we need people that can act, that shouldn't have fired the pandemic team. We'd be in a very different place right now in terms of getting people ready for this and testing for it and revealing who has it and treatment and all of that. We would have been in a much different place now had we not had who we have now in office. So in any event, let's go ahead and get started. I think that's it. I don't think I did any more. I've only been usually doing the 7 sacred planets, but doggone it, I've been doing the outer ones too, because they've really been the ones that have been telling us, I think, what the underlying movement is, what the underlying truth is, what the underlying energies are. And if we work within them, I think that we'll have a much better outcome when we realize what's truly at stake and what's possible this year, especially in terms of rebuilding who we are together. So let's go ahead, though, and take our first 3 cards. And again, I'm going to take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. Normally I don't, but for here I do. So let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. Oh, well, we have the 9 of Cups. Jolly fellow. Happy and fulfilled. Cups is our emotions, and he's quite happy. His emotional fulfillment, everything is just all in a nice little row behind him. Everything's in balance, emotional balance, I guess you could say. Here we have the Eight of Cups. Maybe we're going to do a run on cups today. I'm actually going to put this one before the 9, because here we're getting things, we're basically walking away from emotions that no longer serve us. And then we move into the 9 with some fulfillment. That's the thing. If you don't, if you're new to tarot, or tarot, as some people say, I think I don't like how that's anyway. Anyway, but I guess that's one way you can say it. I don't. But that's the theme. The thing with tarot is sometimes you can always move your cards around, even if you're in a particular spread that you're using, like the Celtic cross or what have you. You can move your cards around, especially if you've got court cards, because they're going to want to talk to one another maybe. And maybe if you do that and you have them talking to one another, if they weren't that way when you first laid them down, you might discover a meaning that you didn't realize was there. So be sure, make your reading make sense to you. If you have them laid out and it seems to flow in a weird way, move them around and see if it flows better. I mean, it's your reading. You're trying to make sense of something, and and then sometimes you just got to start all over again. Sometimes the reading is never going to make sense to you. You're just not going to see it. Here you have the 10 of Wands. Now, I'm going to put that first, and I'll tell you why. The 10 is a 1 energy. When you do numerology, you're always reducing down, other than the master numbers at like 11, 22, 33. You would not do that with those, but with everything else, you're going to reduce it down to a single digit. And so a 10 is going to reduce to 1. We're going to call that new beginnings. We may go ahead and put it at the end and have an 8, 9, and 10 run. We can do that as well. You know what? I'm going to. Let's do it that way. Let's do the run numerically. And not reduce it before we do. So we have an 8 and a 9, that's 17, that's 8, and 1 is 9. No, did I do that? Yes, 8 and 1 is 9. So we have a 9 energy for today. So there's a sense of endings and completion, and really, realistically, with the reading we begin that way. Let's go ahead then and begin with the 8. I've looked at it long enough. Now I'm going to share. Here we see 8 cups, 3 stacked on the other 5. Everything's in order, everything's in its place. And the man's walking away, isn't he? You can see that he's realistically, by somewhere, the ocean's around him somewhere. You can kind of see it back there in amongst those rocks, but he's climbing upward, isn't he? You can see some rocks in his way there. You can see the large boulders around him there, likely in the water, rising up out of the sea. Again, cups is the water element, our emotions. We see the moon above. So there's some mystery there, some unknown. In a sense, you have a pathway between here, a pathway to mystery, a pathway to the unknown. But what he's doing is he's going off on another angle, isn't he? And he's going upward. You can see the path going upward. You can see the rocks in his way. So you can understand that there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be some new things that take hold, because he's going in a different path. He's taking the unexpected path in a way, isn't he? Normally you see the path between something, a new direction between something. But here, he's unafraid of the challenge, isn't he? Because when you take the middle way, maybe you're not going to rock the boat. But maybe here, with the idea of things being unknown, there's a mystery, and we've set aside emotions or perceptions, maybe, that we once believed, beliefs maybe, in a sense. And although they might inform our future, they're not really present. We're going to explore something new now. Some new level of intuition, some new awareness, something new. And it could be, again, be challenging because of the unknown aspect of it. It could be challenging, but that's okay. Because in the process of doing so, we're going to find emotional fulfillment. We're going to come to an end with a 9 of something that's been in play for a while. And by virtue of letting go of emotions that no longer serve us, maybe commitment to a cause that no longer serves us, a commitment to an individual that no longer serves us, belief in something that no longer serves us, whatever that is, right? It all, stirs up emotions within, whatever it is. So the emotions so maybe we got caught up in a movement that really isn't going to be sustainable, that really doesn't reflect reality or the truth. Perhaps we followed somebody that really, although might have spoken to some things within us, realistically isn't going to be able to go the distance. And so there's some of that. This is an election season, so it could have something to do with that. What else could it have to do with? Letting go of emotions maybe that keep you apart from others. That's another thing that is keeping you apart from others. And so maybe you tried something, you're trying something different right now. It's either going to work out or it's not, but the long and the short of it, it's really not about the outcome, but it's more about the transition that you make in how you perceive things and how you do things right now. And so once you let go of emotions that no longer serve, you can move into something that's a lot more extraordinarily fulfilling than what you've currently had. Emotions settle, and we're not, there's nothing that's in upheaval anymore. The direction is clear now. In other words, when we're talking about the long played con, once you release your hold or your belief on it, or in it, then you can move on to something that's even more fulfilling. Because, I've always felt, I don't know about you, but I've always felt that it really doesn't matter what the truth is as long as I know it. Okay, I can deal with whatever it is. I just have to know what it is. And I don't appreciate when people lie to me. So I'm empathic, so I know when people are lying to me. And it's so confounding. And if you're empathic watching this, you know what I'm talking about. You know that people are lying. You might not know for sure what it is, but you might get close to it, right? But it depends on how intuitive you are as well. If you're both, then sometimes you can feel in a different way than most empaths do. So I'm both, and so I tend to feel in and figure out what really the truth is. And it's like, oh boy. And when I was little, it was, I learned early on to just keep my mouth shut because people would look at me like I was listening, like I was hiding somewhere and listening. How did she know that? Yeah, I got that kind of stuff. So anyway. But once emotions come into balance, okay, and once we are level and we know where we're going and we understand what the truth of things are, then we can get back to business. I'm getting a notation, my email notation there, or not notation, notification, telling me that, reminding me that Teachable's Reach Summit is we're supposed to be sending things out today about it. Is coming up. I think it's the 24th is when it starts. 24th through the 26th, I think. But anyway. This can be viewed in a couple different ways. Carrying a heavy burden, trusting the process, building your future. You've got your will, though, in front of you with the fire element and the wands. We're talking a lot now about a new direction forward. You can think about this as carrying the burden for others. You can think about this as what the nurses and the medical professionals and the first responders are having to do right now for all of us. You see the line of demarcation there between where he is and the town? So it's almost like he's doing something to make life better, not just for himself, but for others as well. And I think with the sense of what's going on collectively with us right now in terms of the pandemic, uh, that sense of trying to figure out how you're going to protect yourself and others while at the same time finding a way to still engage and make sure that people are okay, and if someone needs help, maybe there's a way that you can do it. Even if it's a question of in your neighborhood, finding out who needs something, and if you have it, you could always, put your gloves on, put your mask on, protect yourself, put something over your eyes, some goggles, whatever you got to do to go outside, right? And you could go to someone's house, leave it on the doorstep and leave, knock on the door or say, or yell, hey, I'm here, and then leave. You see, there's ways to do this. Or if you can't take it up to the door, maybe you take it to the gate, and they're waiting for you or something. In other words, there's ways to figure this out to help other people right now if you can. And if you can't, that's fine too. Maybe you'll be someone that someone else helps. In other words, we can't look at other people as us versus them, and we have to find a way to be there for others while at the same time protecting everyone. We have to have that collective consciousness in play right now, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So maybe we leave difficult emotions that we've been experiencing. We leave them. And maybe the way is going to be difficult. Maybe the way is going to be unknown, but we have to do it. And in the end, we'll find emotional fulfillment when we do. And we'll be helping others to find the same. And right now, people are afraid. They feel isolated. They feel like there's nobody that is giving them the truth other than maybe their governors. We're very lucky here on the West Coast to have the governors that we have. Also, New York has one that's on top of this. There are others. Obviously, Illinois is asking for help. There are governors out there that are taking this seriously, and they're trying to. I mean, even Washington's, University of Washington is developing their own testing kits. So you've got local areas that are doing things that the federal government just isn't. And the federal government is the one tasked with all of this. See, that's the other side of it. They're the ones tasked with it, right? And they don't seem interested in acting. Now, they're supposed to be voting, hopefully today, on some kind of stimulus bill that will hopefully, help people through this. Instead, all the guy in the Oval is interested in is whether or not, hotels can still accommodate people, and resorts can, and things like that. So at the end of the day, I need to get the rest of my runes from my esoteric weekly rune reading that I did here. My rune bag felt light. It's like, okay, I didn't get my runes. But he's just interested in the stock market. He doesn't understand that the stock market, whatever's happening there, although valuable, doesn't really impact our daily lives. He needs to be focused on what can help with that, and he's not. So, but then he doesn't understand anything, so we shouldn't expect anything else out of him but lies. So here we have Vunyo, the 8th rune of the Elder Futhark, an 8 energy, a Tiwaz energy, leadership, higher self-leadership, level of leadership, and awareness of the collective, the collective here that needs to be protected. Here we have the rune of fellowship and joy and love. And realistically, we have to find a way to express Vunyo now in our lives because, we're on our own. And by we, I mean all of us collectively, we are on our own. Because if we're going to wait for the federal government to do anything, it's too late. I mean, it really is. If we're not figuring this out now, then we're going to be so far behind the 8 ball. If we wait on them, it's ridiculous. So we know what to do. We know. All you got to do is listen to the CDC. They'll tell you. But let's look at Vunyo. We have a couple different, well, three different runes contained within Vunyo, and I'll show you. We have Isa, we have Laguz, and we have Kenaz turned inward or reversed. When that happens, the light of spirit is informing, basically, which is what it should be doing all of the time anyway, because that's what we are. The body's just an illusion, remember? We are the spirit that inhabits it, and every second of every day that we live, it is spirit doing that, is causing all of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive. So we need to in other words, we need to function from that higher self perspective at any given moment, instead of allowing ego to take over and reaction to take place. Because when that happens, it's all service to self. It's all self-dealing. It's the willingness to do just for yourself. It's the willingness to try to bribe a company in Germany to come over here and do the testing equipment or do the vaccine or whatever it is for, I think it's a vaccine for just the American people. That's what he just did. And the German government has confirmed it. So it's like, no, what are you doing? You don't do that. But you see, it's self-dealing. It's coming from that con artist mentality, such a low frequency of ego that's all there is. Cannot think of anything but himself. So we have Isa, which is basically will development. It's bringing the will into a completely source presence aligned focus. Laguz, flowing with that spirit energy. And Kenaz, reversed, this light of spirit informing the entire process. So you can see what a powerful rune and how it is the rune of fellowship, because what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to join with other energies, aren't you? That's what we do in spirit. It's just that when we get into this whole playground called Earth, and life, we forget that. Well, some of us do. Not everybody does. Some people come into this life with that awareness. Empaths do. They might not understand that for a time, but eventually they finally figure it out, that what I'm actually experiencing, when I'm experiencing the emotions of other people, I'm actually experiencing the emotional resonance of what's going on here. And that's the improper connection between spirit and ego, where ego is more of a focus. And so you're experiencing that. But see, you can also experience the energies of spirit. You can also experience that. So if you don't understand the difference, though, that's where, the whole adage, that whole line, observe, don't absorb, came about. Otherwise, if you don't remain in spirit, then you tend to absorb the energies around you. But make no mistake, this is all soul energy, all right, that's in play. It's just sometimes the focus gets away from it, and it gets focused on it so narrow that all it can see is the self-oriented stuff. So, and that's where you come into the whole ego side of things. Let's doing pretty good on time here, about 33 minutes, a nice master number. Where is my magnifying glass? Oh, it's all entangled in a light. So I've got a single dot for fire, 2 for air, 2 for water, and 2 for earth. So are we talking Laetitia? Oh, we are. Oh, cool. Okay. Tristitia is the opposite of it. Laetitia is joy. So Laetitia, our foundation has got to be based on basically geomancy is an earth presence type of a divination tool, earth energies. And so, if we're getting Vunyo with the rune, and we're getting Laetitia with the geomancy rune, then it's reinforcing the notion that we've got to come together in harmony and fellowship with one another if we're going to get through all of this. We have to remember that presence, that spirit presence in form. It's almost like a waterfall of cascading spirit energy, isn't it? Visually. It's also, if you think about it, it's also the 7, isn't it? It's the 7 energy for today. So if we could always think that the 7 energy, and it can go either way, it can either be Laetitia or Tristitia, so you can either have joy or sadness, right? There's your 7 energy right there. And today is suggesting we balance it in joy and fellowship with others. So, and obviously while social distancing. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I don't know. I think that we can all get real creative. We can, we can go and we can learn new things. We can take an online course. We can, we can read a book, an actual book that we hold in our hands. We can talk to one another online. We can Skype. We can do the messaging, the Facebook messaging. We can talk on Twitter. We can do all kinds of things right now to keep us sane and safe. If we do have to go out, as the virus spreads, as the testing kits become available, and we know what the numbers are, it's going to get really scary. And we just need to understand that as long as we take precautions, things are going to be what they're going to be. And I don't know, we're going to get through it the way that we do. And hopefully, we'll start to see at some point some herd immunity start to come about as people get through this and get well. We just don't know. We don't know anything yet, really. Sometimes you can't know things until you get on the other side of it. Sometimes, viruses mutate, and what you think you know about it one day changes the next. And so we have to give the scientists, the medical professionals, enough time and enough equipment, enough testing supplies, enough protection supplies to make sure that our medical professionals aren't dying, or are incapacitated and can't work because they're in quarantine or they're in intensive care or something. We have to be very, very mindful of these people, and very to think that the government is not doing anything to help them, to protect them, is just shocking. Well, it's what happens when you put somebody unfit in the position, I guess. I mean, it just stands to reason. We'd be real lucky if anything else was happening right now, I guess. So do whatever you got to do to stay safe. Stay home. If you're over 60, definitely try to stay home as much as you can. If you have to work, make sure that you're observing, as you know, all the hygiene. If you can't find a mask, make one. If you crochet, you can crochet them. What I did is I crocheted them, just a mask that just fits over my nose right here, just my nose, and I did little loops, and so they can go around my ears. And what I did is I put and I used an E-hook so that the weave is tight. You could even use one smaller. You're going to want to use not real heavy, weighted thread or yarn rather. The cotton yarns don't seem to work as well. They don't seem to be as pliable as the other kind. Sock yarn would be great, although it's probably a little too fine, but you could theoretically get a real fine weave on it if you wanted to do that. I'm not sure which one I used. It's not a chunky one, obviously, but it's not the lightest either. Maybe like a 3-weight or something I think I used. And I used an E-hook, and all I did was I made a rectangle, and on the inside I took a piece of fabric, and fabric I use for my mojo bags, and I cut a piece and I made a pocket. So I left the top open, and that way you can stuff anything. You can stuff gauze, toilet paper, Kleenex, whatever you want to put in there just as a barrier. And then it can be pulled out, you see, and you can wash the thing. You can do whatever once you get home. So that's one thing I did. Now, I'm sure that people in the medical profession would say, oh, that's not enough. But what are you going to do? If there aren't masks for anybody, you can't buy them online right now. So you have to do something, whether it's taking a bandana or a couple of them and wrapping them around, whether it's if you ride a motorcycle, you've got face protection. You could use that. You could use the neck gaiters that you can pull up over your nose. You could use that. You could crochet them again, knit them, whatever, sew them, whatever you've got around, you can find. Take a t-shirt, wad it up, tie it around your face, whatever you have to do. It doesn't matter at this point. If it's an actual mask, you might end up with something even better. You don't know. but take whatever precautions you can if you have to go out. They're limiting the number of people that can go anywhere now to like 50, I think. And so I don't know what that's going to mean for the grocery stores. Will they count the number of people that come in and out and only allow 50 in at a time? I don't know. It would make sense. Some are saying, yeah, that's too much, too many. Reduce it even further. So pay attention and do whatever you have to do to keep yourself safe. But also, if you happen to be carrying it and you're not showing symptoms, in the process of keeping yourself safe, you're also keeping someone else safe. And that's equally important. So just remember to do all of that and keep your spirits high, and we're going to get through that, because that does help the immune system fight things off, keeping your mood positive and staying as happy as you possibly can right now. Try to see the humor, if you can, in anything that goes wonky on you, and instead of getting upset, if it's at all possible, to try to lean in that direction. I know it may be difficult, but we'll get through it. And who knows, maybe we'll develop friendships and rekindle relationships in the process that will sustain us all going forward. So in any event, come back tomorrow. We'll visit again, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.